Hey everyone, welcome back. So in my last video about factoring, I only showed you the box method for factoring. And that is a perfectly good method for factoring. But not everybody likes it and it can take up a lot of space. So today I'm going to show you two other methods for factoring a trinomial that is in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c. So I have my trinomial here. It's 4x squared plus 10x plus 6. And the first step in every single factoring problem is to make a list of our A, our B, and our C. So for this trinomial, our A is 4, our B is 10, and our C is 6. We are going to need that information in order to factor this. The second step in every single factoring method is also the same. The first thing you're going to do after making your list is multiply your A and your C. So since my A is 4 and my C is 6, my A times C is 24. The next step is also the same in every single method. We are going to factor AC, and that means we are going to determine what numbers can be multiplied together to give us that result. So for 24, we have 1 and 24. We have 2 and 12. We have 3 and 8, 4 and 6. It's not divisible by 5, so we'd come back around to 6, so we know that we are done. So once we finish factoring AC, we are going to do the same thing as we did with box method, and that's determine which pair of factors adds up to our B value. So 1 plus 24 will be 25, 2 plus 12 is 14, 3 plus 8 is 11, and 4 plus 6 is 10. Since our B value is 10, the pair we are going to use is 4 and 6. So that will handle the first two steps of both of the next methods that we're going to do. The first method I'm going to do is factor by grouping. So factor by grouping is just rewriting our problem, but instead of 10x, we're going to use 4x and 6x. So I have 4x squared plus 4x plus 6x plus 6. And now I'm going to group them. And the way I'm going to group them, I prefer to use brackets. You can use parentheses. But since we use parentheses for other things in factoring, I prefer to use brackets. And then we're going to factor out the common factor. So the common factor for 4x squared and 4x is 4x. Both of them can be divided by 4x, which leaves us with x plus 1. Then we need to figure out what the common factor for 6x and 6 is. And the common factor for 6x and 6 is, of course, 6. And we are then left with x plus 1. So you'll notice how I have x plus 1 written twice. And that's how we're going to determine what our factors are for this trinomial, 4x squared plus 10x plus 6. So our first factor to this trinomial is going to be what I have written in purple, which we have here as 4x plus 6. And the other factor will be the common factor here, which we have as x plus 1. So our factors here, 4x plus 6 times x plus 1, are two perfectly acceptable factors for this trinomial. However, most of the time we want to factor completely, and we can notice that our purple factor has a common factor. We can factor out 2. So our final answer is going to be 2 times 2x plus 3 times x plus 1. We could have factored the 2 out at the beginning. That would have made things a little bit easier to factor when we were in our first step. But this is a complete breakdown of how to factor by grouping. So now what we're going to do is use a method called slide and divide, or what some people call bottoms up. So what I'm going to do first this time is I'm going to go ahead and factor out that 2. So let's go ahead and put 2 times 2x squared plus 5x plus 3. And now we're going to use this trinomial to make our slide and divide. So to slide and divide, the first thing we're going to do is multiply a times c, but we're going to move the 2 over basically. That's our slide. So we're going to have 2 times 3, and we're going to end up with x squared plus 5x plus 6. And I know it looks a little weird, but this is how it's going to work best. So our new a, b, and c are 1, 5, and 6. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to factor this trinomial. A times c in this case, which is the first step, again, for every factoring, is going to be 1 times 6. So that's going to give us 6. 6 is a much smaller number to factor. So we have 6 factors to 1 and 6 and 2 and 3. So 2 and 3 are the pair that give us 5, and so those are the ones we're going to use. So we're going to factor it to x plus 2 times x plus 3. Now if we multiply these two together, we would get x squared plus 5x plus 6, but that again is not the original trinomial we had. So what we're going to do is we are going to divide both of our second terms by the a value that we multiplied by in the beginning, which in this case is 2. So I'm going to divide here by 2, and I'm going to divide by 2. And then I'm going to simplify where possible. So 2 divided by 2 is just 1. But 3 is not divisible by 2, so we're left with 3 over 2. Now this is not very lovely. We don't really like having fractions. So anytime there's a fraction in the second term of your factor, all you're going to do is take the denominator and move it in front of the first term. So that gives us x plus 1 times 2x plus 3. And then we also need the 2 that we had factored out originally, because that is one of the factors of our original problem. And we still get 2 times x plus 1 times 2x plus 3. And that is slide and divide, or bottoms up if you prefer. So that is the end of this video. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. If you want to be notified when I upload a new video, hit the subscribe button and ring the bell icon. Thank you. Bye.